flapping of its wings, but two remain. One stares malevolently at him, face bloodied, but the other is busy feeding, head down, ripping at flesh. The dog sticks closer to the tractor. When Roy gets within 30 yards of them, the last two take off swiftly, with a loud drumming of wings. He still can't quite see what they've been feeding on. He keeps driving closer, the tractor bumping across the field, his body moving familiarly with it. He's high up on the seat, and now he sees. He turns off the tractor, and there's an abrupt silence. The quiet seems to underscore his shock. It's not a deer, after all. It's a girl. She's naked and lying on her back. Her stomach has been ripped open by the birds. Even with her eyes gouged out by the vultures, he thinks he recognizes her. He retches, turns his head away. Roy scrambles in the pocket of his overalls. His hands are shaking, and he almost drops his cell phone as he grabs it. He's a volunteer firefighter, and he's seen some awful things, but he's never seen anything like this. And then he stays there, atop his tractor, guarding her, protecting her from those fucking birds, swearing and yelling and waving his arms at them as they swoop and soar overhead until help arrives. Paula Acosta hears her alarm go off and gets out of bed. It's 7:30 a.m. on Friday. Her husband Martin has been up before her. He's an early riser. He teaches at Dartmouth College in Hanover, New Hampshire, an almost 20-minute drive. It takes her under 5 minutes to get to Fair Hill High School, where she teaches English. She swears it gets harder every year. COVID seems to have made everything worse, especially for the 9th graders. The kids' skills are further behind than ever, their reliance on or addiction to screens and technology even worse. Their social skills seem to be more lacking than before the pandemic, and their attention spans are a fraction of what they once were. Or is it just her? She doesn't think so. All the teachers see it. She sometimes wonders if she could do something else. Her daughter Taylor is one of those 9th graders. Paula knows it's hard for kids to attend the same school where their parents teach. She suspects Taylor sometimes finds it mortifying, although she would never admit it. She must hear what the kids say about Paula, about all the teachers, behind their backs. That's the problem with being in a small community. Her daughter doesn't have the option to go to a different high school. The rural kids are all bussed into Fair Hill High. At least she's not the principal. He has 3 kids in the high school, and she knows it's not easy for them. They act out so they won't be taken for goody two-shoes or as getting special treatment. They're rebels, all 3 of them, and the girl is the worst. She feels for Principal Kelly. She really does. She enters the kitchen. Her daughter is seated at the table having a bowl of cereal, head down, scrolling on her phone. Paula's annoyance at seeing Taylor glued to her phone is always tinged with anxiety. She doesn't like her daughter spending time on social media. They've tried to set limits, but they've had to be careful about it. Paula's done the reading, and she's seen it with her own eyes. She knows what social media does to girls, how it destroys their self-esteem with impossible comparisons, how it distorts their thinking, their expectations, their priorities. She does a unit on media in her English classes to try to combat it, but it feels like she's slamming the lid down on Pandora's box far too late. All the evils of the world are already out there for them to see, to participate in, with the touch of a finger. Even here, in their quiet, friendly little town in rural Vermont. It's one of the reasons some of the kids seem to dislike her. She's telling them to get off their devices, to read books, to talk to one another, and they don't want to hear it. Plus, she's a hard marker and expects them to actually work. She still has standards. She leans down and kisses her daughter on top of her smooth brown hair, trying to get a glimpse of her phone screen, but Taylor immediately covers it with her hand. Paula turns away and heads for the coffee, which her husband had made and left warm for her. Did you see Dad?